There's some confusion here because other sides like to pretend they're other beings and then do awful things, and they look like it. And we're so primitive, we can't make heads or tails of the situation, so we're just terrified of them. When in reality it was a disguise and a costume trying to make the good guys look bad. It's a mess for us poor humans. We're really trying to figure this out at this point in time because it's a very important point in time. But let's go back to Rob Thomas. And I'm going to put links to all these songs at the bottom of this. I'd appreciate it though if you could hear me out entirely and then go click on the links afterwards and listen to these beautiful works of art, which are genius. All of these, I believe. Rob Thomas, one of my favorite songs is Unwell. And Rob Thomas, essentially in this song, is talking about, well, let me read through it. I'm just going to read the lyrics without the music, and I think you'll all be surprised at what he's saying. All day, staring at the ceiling, making friends with shadows on my wall. All night, hearing voices telling me that I should get some sleep because tomorrow might be good for something. He's talking about aliens, guys. Hearing voices is something that has been misdiagnosed as schizophrenia in many cases, I believe. I don't know entirely, but I believe many people have been mislabeled. And they're truly special, and they're getting telepathic communication, which is never accounted for in psychiatry. But he's hearing voices telling him he needs to get some sleep, which is a nice thing to say, right? It's not an evil voice. But as we skip forward a little bit in the song, it gets a little bit more obvious. And a lot of Rob's songs are, I think, incredibly obvious and beautiful too. And I think he does a heck of a job doing what he does. I hope he becomes extremely successful, or continues to be, or becomes more successful than he has been, because he's very good at what he does. But we go down a little later, he's talking about, here's more lyrics, talking to myself in public, dodging glances on the train. I know they've all been talking about me. I can hear them whisper, and it makes me think there might be something wrong with me. So at this point, I think it's fair to assume that all of these songs are written for personal reasons. I don't think anybody makes a work of art that doesn't mean something to them. I don't think this is imaginary. Why would anybody do that? But Rob's telling us he hears voices, essentially, here, and he thinks he might be crazy because of it, and a lot of us here can relate to that. But he goes on later, and the most obvious song, he's also talking about lack of sleep, by the way, which insomnia is an enormous symptom of this. Mine is terrible. Pretty much everybody is. We're nocturnal almost, and you wouldn't believe how little sleep we can operate off of. It's just kind of how we are. But not saying it's a good thing. The sleep helps, but it's just hard to come by sometimes. He's got another song called 3 a.m., a Matchbox 20 song. Any reference to 3 a.m. is usually a reference to this, because that's when it happens. Between 3 and 4 a.m., as they've said to me, between 3 and 4 a.m., everything's discreet, of course. It's the best. They don't want to be seen, obviously. That's why they erase things. They want their influence, I think, the good ones, to be as minimal as possible, yet it's extremely significant. But I don't think all of us, I don't know if we're supposed to know that or not. Hopefully we are, because I'm telling everybody about it. They haven't struck me down or scolded me for it yet, so I certainly feel this is what I'm supposed to be doing. But later on in the song, he comes to say the most telling line. I've been talking in my sleep. Pretty soon they'll come to get me. Yeah, they're taking me away. That's what Rob says. Who's he talking about, guys? Who is he talking about when he says that? That's the big question, isn't it? All right, let me move on to another one that I really like, and that's Jack Johnson, a special individual. I'd love to be able to talk to him a little bit. Seems like a really good guy. But in his song Adrift, he almost tells us that these beings, which are angels, and I mean, come on, everybody, angels sing, right? We've known that since, folklore of forever. The angels sing. This all ties together. It really does. But in his song Adrift, I'm going to jump in about halfway here. And Jack says, this was a scene worth waking up for. And the scene, after having looked at a lot of his work, I'm going to make a lot of connections that people may not follow, but if you look real hard at a lot of these musicians' songs, and that's what I've done. And I know this very well, and that's how I've made these connections. But feel free to look at it for yourself. I can't walk everybody through every one. It would take a long time. I put a lot of time into this. But Jack talks about this a lot. His song Fall Line is beautiful, by the way. If you get a chance, I'll put a link to that at the bottom too. That's a great song. Basically talking about how society has gone across a line that, it's got to go and then build back up, apparently. And that's what it looks like to me too. This was a scene worth waking up for, of course, talking about the awakening process. And then he says, when I woke up. You planted me in my own body. That's a very important line. You planted me in my own body, he said. What's that mean? The next line he says is don't know why. So he doesn't have a clue either, and maybe I'm answering some questions for some people. Boy, I think that'd be a cool thing. But you planted me in my own body. Hybrid program, guys. I don't know if he gets that. That I don't know. But he instinctually knows that. He goes on to say after that, but somehow it just feels so wrong. When you said, I will be lonely, and we all know this is a lonely life. It says, when you rise again, I will have become the sun, and I will shine down upon you as if you were the only one. And then here I think Jack tells us that something told him he's going to have to sing. For whatever reason, he couldn't get this message across with his voice. And a lot of us know this, too. Boy, a lot of us, when this happens to us, we're trying to warn people left and right. Like, yeah, something's going on. I think the world might be coming to an end. I mean, my gosh, I watched, in my early awakening process, sorry, quick side note, I watched the stock market every day, just waiting for it to go. And I realized there was some correlation in the numbers and all that. And I was just, it's going today, it's going today. And sooner or later you realize, no, some things are unpredictable and manipulated in ways I don't get. So, but I think he wanted to tell people, because his next lines are, I quote, your voice is your own, I can't protect it. He's obviously having a two-sided conversation here with somebody. Who could be telling him this other than some sort of higher being? It then says, you'll have to sing, a verse no one has ever known. Don't be afraid, because no one ever sings alone. Your weight will never be too much for me. Your ideas have always been your own. You know, he says right there, no one ever sings alone. I've equated myself for a long time as a funnel. And I think musicians are the same thing. I think we all sort of are, all us hybrids. In that I do my absolute best to allow whatever it is that pours into the top end of my funnel to spew out the other side more concentrated, without any of me coming through with it, to be entirely plastic. And I put my personality and face on all this because I have to. That's the way it works, because it's just too hard for people to believe otherwise. And that's a shame, but that's where we're at. But other than that, that's all I was saying. I try to be a funnel. So don't give me too much credit for anything I'm saying that seems enlightening to you, because it's coming through me. So, and that's what happens with music too, I'm sure of it. Now here's one of my favorite ones ever. I would absolutely love to talk to Dave Grohl. Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighters is the name of his band. Come on, guys. Foo Fighters. The mysterious World War II, UFOs, and so on and so on. That's the name of the band. And of course he was in Nirvana with Cobain, and Cobain was, and sorry to interject here and have a look, there's a squirrel moment. I have those. But as soon as I wanted to start talking about Cobain, I wanted to go outside and look up at the stars while I did it. And of course, as I do it, as I pull up here in my vehicle, there's, I've got one of the low, slow ones like you guys have seen on a lot of my videos. And it's too bad I didn't bring my camera. I don't take many videos anymore, but I would do it of this one. As well as a little purely red guy floating around. He's still right here. If you're me behind the steering wheel right now, he's about 1:30 on a clock, between 1 and 2 o'clock. Just a little bit up and to the right, and he's just going back and forth real low to the ground. But anyway, just trying to... And this stuff happens to me so often, it's still really bizarre to me in a lot of ways. My life has become so strange. It really has. But, like I said, I digress there. Let's get back to Cobain. Boy, I see another one right off now at my 2:30 that's dancing around for me. That's a beautiful thing. So I'm going to take that as a thumbs up as to what I'm doing. That's very cool. They do that. It's been a while since I've seen some cool ones, to be honest. I don't want to say it became unimpressive to me, but it did. I mean, you guys saw a bunch of the videos, probably. If not, check them out. But anyway, Kurt Cobain, and of course he ties into that 27 club, and that happens because these hybrids reach 3 sets of 9 years. And there's something about the numbers 3, 6, and 9 and the triangles they form that essentially creates the universe, and it's laid out that way. Was the most I could ever get out of it. I tried for a long time, but as soon as I figured out I was trying to basically backwards engineer God's master design, I gave up.